the 108th conflict of the Foxhole War, it's day 383. The Wardens score major victories in the waters of the Northeast, with the sinking of multiple destroyers. Meanwhile, mainline tanks continue to punch deep on each faction's sides, with Collies seizing the Deadlands. Finally, storm cannons in Linn of Mercy continue to grow in number. A reminder that the press corps is focused on the Able Shard. Combined casualties have reached over 3.4 million, both sides suffering 1.7 million dead each. The Deadlands continues to be the deadliest region in this war, sitting at approximately 452,000 total deaths. These numbers provided by FoxholeStats.com. Our top story, the Warden CSU Coalition reports of an operation that sunk 3 Colonial destroyers in the waters of the Northeast. At least one of these destroyers are confirmed to be from the Colonial MSA Coalition. We can now update that 2 of those destroyers are from the Colonial MSA Coalition. In a Reddit post by u/Theomaax, they describe the seemingly impromptu operation as a counterattack after 3 destroyers destroyed CSU's Longhook base ship and thus sent large groups of gunboats to surround and overwhelm the destroyers. The press corps' Everett Way reports with this dispatch, assisted by Jean Barricave. 2 Collie destroyers, one crewed by the United Colonial Front, or UCF, and the other by Banga, B-A-N-G-A, were sieging Exile in Godcroft after destroying Lipsia relic base on day 364. The Banga destroyer left to rearm, while the UCF destroyer continued to fire their last shells before returning. On day 365, another MSA destroyer, a separate MSA destroyer, crewed by the 1st Colonial Marine Division, or 1CMD, was sunk in Morgen's Crossing at 1100 hours local time. Later on day 365, the UCF destroyer was ambushed by 6 to 8 Warden gunboats on their way back. Initially, 3 Collie gunboats intercepted, but they were destroyed off radar while the destroyer tried to return home. The UCF destroyer was ambushed again near the Godcroft's border and sunk on day 365 at approximately 22:30 local time. A 3rd destroyer, crewed by members of the NEP coalition, arrived in Tempest Island to link up with the surviving Banga destroyer. They decided, instead of Godcroft's, to sail into Silicon Shelf to assist in the push there, knowing full well the gunboats may arrive. They decided it was worth it, now with 2 destroyers and a host of gunboats to escort. Warden gunboats arrived as predicted, with the destroyers prepared to fight. Initially, the destroyers got separated, and no less than 10 Warden gunboats swarmed the NEP destroyer. The destroyer, eventually broke free, and it made the decision to beach itself for emergency repairs. The local colonial garrison at Stolikin were called in to assist with repairs and defense with their tanks. Eventually, all but 1 Warden gunboats were sunk, but the NEP destroyer still managed to sink due to critical damage. These 3 destroyers, which included 2 from the MSA coalition, were sunk in return for 12 to 14 Warden gunboats and most of Exile's defenses, including a Tier 3 bunker base. There is a tension in Godcroft's waters that seemed deadly to both sides. Though Wardens were able to take 3 major wins with those destroyer sinkings, it came at the cost of a large fleet. 4 to 5 crates of gunboats is hard to supply to Godcroft's. Now both sides are uncertain of the other's capabilities, and commitment to another naval battle is shaky at best, with little stable ground to come, with the battleships on the horizon. That dispatch again coming from the press corps' Everett Way, with additional reporting from Jean Barricave. Footage from the 1881 regiment of the destruction of 2 of the destroyers in open waters is available on YouTube and provided in the aforementioned CSU Reddit thread. The CSU coalition, it should be noted, includes the ISL Plus, IG, 6th, Swarm, LKO8, and 195 AP regiments. CSU standing for Caoivish. Oh goodness, we did not write down. But CSU is the coalition. Other regiments mentioned in the CSU Reddit report include CL, 1881, and Spud. Finally, in Linn of Mercy near Prairie Bazaar, another destroyer led by TikToker Rudy Tootie and his 13th Regiment was sunk by the Warden KRGG Regiment, again with mobs of gunboats overwhelming a destroyer. Now that was a lot of information just now, but we would like to put a quick timeline of the 4 destroyers that were reportedly sunk that we have information on. A 1 CMD destroyer was sunk on Morgen's Crossing on day 365 at 1100 hours. A UCF destroyer was sunk in Godcrofts on day 365 at 2230 hours. Those 2 regiments, 1 CMD and UCF, are part of the MSA regiment. Additionally, a NEP destroyer, the NEP coalition, was sunk in Stilikin Shelf. And finally, a 13th Regiment destroyer, 13th led by Rudy Tootie on TikTok, was sunk in Linn of Mercy on day 370. Lots of action happening in the open waters, and we have yet to see the battleships hit the open waves. Once those do, we can expect a lot of naval maneuvering and a lot of high tension on the high seas. Looking at the map in the meantime, in the southwest, Wardens appear to have secured Sableport for the most part, with the region first coming under total Caoivish control on day 340 with the capture of Robin's Nest Keep. Multiple Colonial counterattacks have found middling success with southern base captures, but they have so far been ejected each time. With Sableport lost to the Legion, the open plains of Lochmoor, the Heartlands, and northeastern Ashfields lie under threat, and time will tell if this tertiary colonial back line is strong enough to hold. In the central regions, the Colonials have taken control of the entire region of the Deadlands, capturing Callahan's Gate on day 374. This is a major reversal from the early war, when the Collies were on their last legs at Salt Farms. Now, with strong positions in Deadlands and neighboring Marben Hollow, the Wardens are bracing for incursions into Callahan's Passage. Looking at the Linn of Mercy specifically, a total of 45 storm cannons are now dotting the region. 27 Warden storm cannons versus 18 Colonial storm cannons, with an additional 5 Collie storm cannons at the northern border of Lochmoor. This is by far the highest concentration of storm cannons seen in any region of War 108, though no word yet if this is a record-breaking number. It has been reported most of the Warden storm cannons are under the control of KRGG. Observers have compared the 2 strategies in storm cannon layout in Linn of Mercy, with the Wardens opting to disperse their storm cannons around the region in smaller groups. Meanwhile, the Colonials have concentrated all 18 storm cannons just outside Prairie Bazaar, most likely because that is about all the room they have in the region. A reminder that you can view these storm cannons and where all the storm cannons are on foxholestats.com, as well as on the in-game map itself. On foxholestats.com, you can also click on each storm cannon for its range. And finally, in the northeast, the battle lines have been drawn straight across from White Walk Town Base to Mox Relic Base in Marben's Hollow. Colonials have so far been unable to penetrate further into Weathered Expanse, as Crow's Nest stands firm for now. Should Weathered Expanse turn green, this will mirror the situation in Sableport, with the Warden northeast falling deeper behind the lines. For the Press Corps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings. Good night and good fight.
The Press Corps is an all-volunteer creative collective of reporters, broadcasters, artists, and more from the MMO video game Foxhole, developed by Siege Camp. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem. The Press Corps was founded in 2018 by former PlanetSide 2 Radio Free Arax's host, Captain-in-Arms. It is a separate community entity and is not officially representative of Siege Camp. For more information, visit our website at presscorpsgaming.com. That's PRESSCORPS gaming.com.